What happens when one of Hollywood's most notoriously outspoken actors sits down with a talk show host who believes he can push anyone's buttons? What you're about to hear is the story of the explosive conversation that allegedly ended with security escorting Sean Penn off the Jimmy Kimmel Live set. It's a moment that reveals a side of late-night television that viewers rarely, if ever, get to see. This wasn't just another celebrity interview gone wrong. This was a calculated verbal assault that backfired spectacularly. Before we dive into this incredible exchange, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and let me know in the comments, what do you think really motivated Kimmel's aggressive approach that night? The moment Sean Penn settled into the guest chair, Jimmy Kimmel launched into what seemed like a friendly opening, but his tone carried an edge that anyone paying close attention could detect. "So Sean," Kimmel began, "you're here to talk about your documentary work, but I have to ask, do you ever get tired of being so serious all the time? I mean, when was the last time you just had fun?" Penn shifted slightly in his seat, his jaw tightening. "Fun is subjective, Jimmy," he said, his voice low. "I find meaning in my work. Some people find meaning in making jokes about other people's commitments." "Ooh, shots fired already." Kimmel chuckled, but his laugh felt hollow. "But seriously, you've got this reputation for being, let's say, difficult to work with. Directors, co-stars, even journalists have stories. What's that about? Difficult?" Penn repeated slowly, his voice dropping to that familiar gravelly tone that signaled his patience was already wearing thin. "That's interesting coming from someone whose idea of journalism is reading cards and giggling at his own material." The audience fell silent. Kimmel's smile faltered for just a moment before he forced it back. "Hey, now I'm just asking what people want to know. You've walked off sets. You've had public outbursts. You've physically confronted photographers. Some might say that's not exactly professional behavior." Penn leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Some might say ambushing a guest who came here in good faith to discuss humanitarian work isn't professional either. But here we are. Ambush? Come on, Sean. This is late-night television. We have fun here. We don't take ourselves too seriously." Kimmel's voice had a mocking quality now, as if he were talking to a child having a tantrum. "You don't take anything seriously," Penn shot back. "That's the problem. You sit here night after night making jokes about real issues, real people's lives, and you think that's entertainment. You think that's a contribution." Kimmel laughed, but it was forced and uncomfortable. "Wow. Okay, so comedy is worthless. Entertainment has no value. Should we all just sit around being miserable and intense like you?" The insult hung in the air like smoke. Penn's hands clenched on the armrests of his chair. "You want to know about intense? Jimmy, intense is watching children in war zones lose their parents. Intense is documenting real human suffering, while people like you make jokes about celebrity culture and pretend it matters." "People like me," Kimmel repeated, his voice taking on a sharper edge. "You mean people who actually connect with audiences? People who don't lecture everyone about how terrible they are for enjoying themselves? I mean people who hide behind humor because they're too cowardly to engage with anything real," Penn said, his voice rising slightly. "You invited me here to discuss my documentary work, and instead you're trying to turn this into some kind of roast. What's the matter, Jimmy? Ratings not what they used to be." The audience gasped audibly. Kimmel's face flushed red, and for the first time, his composure cracked completely. "Excuse me. My ratings are just fine, thank you very much. And you know what? At least I don't go around punching photographers and screaming at people who are just trying to do their jobs." "Their jobs?" Penn said with disgust. "You mean stalking people and invading their privacy? You mean turning personal tragedy into entertainment? That's a job worth defending. It's better than whatever this is." Kimmel gestured dismissively at Penn, this angry, bitter, holier-than-thou act you've been doing for decades. "When's the last time anyone actually wanted to work with you without it being some kind of prestige project?" Penn stood up abruptly, towering over the desk. "You want to talk about acts, Jimmy? Your whole career is an act. This show, this persona, this fate-concerned citizen routine you do in your monologues. You're a fraud, and everyone in this room knows it." Kimmel shot to his feet as well, his carefully maintained television persona now completely abandoned. "A fraud? I'm a fraud? You're the one who thinks making a few documentaries makes you some kind of saint. You're nothing but a washed-up actor who can't handle the fact that nobody cares about your opinions anymore." "Nobody cares?" Penn's voice was dangerously quiet now. "Is that why you booked me? Because nobody cares? Or is it because you needed someone with actual substance to make up for the fact that your show has become a wasteland of celebrity gossip and political pandering?" The studio was dead silent, except for the hum of the cameras still rolling. Kimmel realized he had pushed too far, but his pride wouldn't let him back down. You know what, Sean? Maybe this interview's over. Maybe you should go find a show that appreciates your particular brand of self-righteousness. Penn looked around the studio at the shocked faces of the audience, at the crew members who had stopped what they were doing to watch the confrontation unfold. Gladly, he said. But first, let me say something to your viewers. He turned toward the main camera, ignoring Kimmel's protests. This is what passes for discourse in America today. This is what happens when entertainment becomes more important than truth. When clever quips matter more than genuine conversation. Kimmel shouted to his director, but Penn kept talking. You invited me here under false pretenses, Jimmy. You promised a platform to discuss important work, and instead you turned it into a personal attack. That says everything anyone needs to know about your character. The tension in the studio was reaching a breaking point. Kimmel's face was turning a deeper shade of red as he realized his show was spiraling completely out of his control. The director was frantically gesturing from behind the cameras, but Kimmel seemed paralyzed, caught between cutting to commercial and trying to salvage what was left of his authority on his own show. You don't get to hijack my show, Kimmel said through gritted teeth, stepping around his desk toward Penn. This is my stage, my audience, my rules. Penn didn't back down an inch. Your rules? Your rules were to have an honest conversation about meaningful work. Your rules apparently include lying to guests and ambushing them for cheap entertainment. Cheap entertainment? Kimmel's voice cracked slightly. This show has won Emmy Awards. This show has raised millions for charity. What have you done lately besides complain about how terrible everyone else is? What have I done? Penn's voice was incredulous. I've spent the last 2 years documenting war crimes, Jimmy. I've been in trenches with soldiers, in hospitals, with wounded civilians, in refugee camps, with families who've lost everything. While you were here making jokes about celebrity tweets. The audience was completely silent now, some looking uncomfortable, others leaning forward in fascination. This wasn't the polished, sanitized conflict they were used to seeing on talk shows. Kimmel tried to regain control, forcing his television smile back onto his face. Look, Sean, I think we got off on the wrong foot here. Why don't we sit back down and start over? Talk about your documentary work like you wanted. But Penn saw right through the attempt at damage control. Now you want to talk about the documentary after you've spent 10 minutes trying to tear me down personally. After you've shown your audience exactly who you really are when the cameras are rolling. Who I really am. Kimmel's fake smile disappeared again. I'm someone who doesn't take himself so seriously that he can't have a normal conversation. I'm someone who can laugh at himself occasionally. You're someone who built a career on mockery, Penn replied coldly. You mock politicians. You mock other celebrities. You mock anyone who dares to care about something beyond the shallow nonsense that fills your monologue every night. Kimmel's hands were shaking slightly now, whether from anger or nerves. That's rich coming from someone who's made a career out of being angry at everything. You want to know what I think, Sean? I think you're jealous. Jealous that some of us can find joy in life instead of walking around like the weight of the world is on our shoulders. Joy. Penn laughed, but there was no humor in it. You call this joy, this manufactured controversy, this desperate attempt to create a viral moment at my expense? This is what brings you joy. What brings me joy is connecting with people, Kimmel shot back. What brings me joy is making people laugh after they've had a hard day. What brings me joy is not lecturing everyone about how terrible they are for not being as enlightened as Sean Penn. Enlightened? Penn scoffed. There's that word again. You keep using it like it's an insult, like caring about other human beings is somehow pretentious. It's not caring that's pretentious, Sean. It's the way you wear it, like a badge of honor. It's the way you act, like you're the only person in Hollywood who gives a damn about anything real. Penn stepped closer to Kimmel's desk, his voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried more menace than shouting. You want to know what's real, Jimmy? Real is the fact that you booked me tonight because you thought you could take me down a peg. Real is the fact that your ratings have been sliding and you needed something to get people talking. Real is the fact that you're using my humanitarian work as a prop for your entertainment. Kimmel's composure finally snapped completely. My ratings are fine, and you know what else is real? The fact that nobody wants to hear your sanctimonious garbage anymore. The fact that you're a has-been actor who thinks making a few documentaries gives him the right to judge everyone else. A has-been. Penn's voice was dangerously quiet. That's interesting. If I'm such a has-been, why am I here? Why did you beg my publicist for weeks to get me on this show? Beg? Kimmel laughed harshly. We didn't beg for anything. You needed the platform more than we needed you. Is that what you tell yourself? Penn asked. Is that how you justify what you're doing right now? By pretending I need this more than you do? The studio audience was starting to murmur among themselves, sensing that something unprecedented was happening. Some were pulling out their phones, trying to record what was clearly becoming television history. Kimmel noticed the phones and seemed to realize for the first time how badly this was going for him. Put the phones away, he called out to the audience. This is a closed set. But Penn seized on Kimmel's moment of distraction. No, keep them out. Let people see this. Let them see what happens when someone challenges the great Jimmy Kimmel on his own show. Let them see how you handle it when someone won't play your games. Games? Kimmel rolled back around. You think this is a game? You came on my show and started insulting me from the first question. You want to talk about games? You're the one playing games, acting like you're too good for this format, too pure for late-night television. I never said I was too good for anything, Penn replied. I said I was too honest for this particular brand of dishonesty. There's a difference. Dishonesty? Everything I do is right out in the open. My show, my opinions, my jokes. They're all right there for everyone to see. I'm not hiding behind some fake humanitarian image. Fake? Penn's voice rose for the first time, genuine anger flashing in his eyes. You think my humanitarian work is fake? You think the people I've helped, the stories I've told, the money I've raised, that's all fake? Kimmel realized he had crossed the line, but his pride wouldn't let him back down. I think you use it to make yourself feel superior to everyone else. I think you use it to justify treating people like garbage when they don't live up to your impossible standards. My impossible standards? Penn said slowly. You mean standards like honesty, like integrity, like not ambushing guests on national television for entertainment value? The confrontation was reaching its peak. The studio felt like a powder keg about to explode. Penn and Kimmel were now standing face to face across the desk, their voices echoing through the stunned silence. Kimmel tried one last desperate attempt to regain control. You know what, Sean? I've had enough of this. You came on my show. You've been hostile from the beginning. You've insulted me. You've insulted my audience. And now you're trying to make me look like the bad guy. Penn's laugh was cold and bitter. I don't have to make you look like anything, Jimmy. You're doing that all by yourself. Every word out of your mouth is proving exactly what kind of person you really are. What kind of person I am. Kimmel's voice was shaking now. I'm someone who built a career entertaining people. I'm someone who brings joy into people's lives. What are you? What do you actually contribute besides criticism and condescension? I document truth, Penn said simply. I show people realities they might not otherwise see. I use my platform to amplify voices that would otherwise go unheard. What do you do with yours? I make people laugh, Kimmel shot back. I help people forget their problems for an hour. That matters too. Does it? Penn asked. Does it really? Or does it just help them ignore problems that need solving? Does it help them stay comfortable while the world burns around them? Kimmel's face was now bright red, veins visible on his forehead. Not everything has to be doom and gloom, Sean. Not everything has to be a crusade. Sometimes people just want to be entertained without being lectured about how terrible everything is. And that's exactly the problem, Penn replied. People want to be entertained instead of informed. They want to laugh instead of think. They want to be comfortable instead of challenged. And you give them exactly what they want, don't you, Jimmy? Damn right I do, Kimmel said. Because that's what entertainment is supposed to do. It's supposed to make people feel good, not make them feel guilty for existing. Penn shook his head slowly. You don't get it, do you? You really don't understand the responsibility that comes with having a platform like this. Millions of people watch the show every night. They listen to what you say. They laugh at what you find funny. They form opinions based on how you present the world to them. And I present it honestly, Kimmel insisted. I make jokes about politicians. I make jokes about celebrities. I make jokes about current events. That's honest. Honest. Penn's voice was incredulous. You reduce complex issues to punchlines. You turn serious problems into comedy bits. You trivialize everything that doesn't fit into your neat little entertainment package. Kimmel stepped back slightly, his anger giving way to something that looked almost like panic. You know what? I don't have to justify what I do to you. This is my show. This is my format. And if you don't like it, you can leave. Gladly, Penn said. But first, let me ask you something, Jimmy. When you go home tonight, when you look in the mirror, do you honestly like the person you see? Do you like what you've become? Because from where I'm standing, you're just another comedian who sold his soul for ratings, Another voice in the echo chamber of manufactured outrage. Kimmel's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. His face was a mask of shock and disbelief. Penn turned his back on the stunned host and walked directly off the set, leaving a palpable silence in his wake. The audience remained frozen, unsure how to react. The cameras continued to roll, capturing Kimmel standing alone, defeated, on his stage. The show immediately cut to commercial, but the damage was done. The unscripted, raw confrontation had exposed the underbelly of late-night television and left an indelible mark on everyone who witnessed it. Who do you think was in the right in this explosive confrontation? Was Sean Penn justified in his outrage, or did Jimmy Kimmel have a point? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you want more unfiltered celebrity interviews and behind-the-scenes Hollywood drama, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And don't forget to check out our playlist of the most shocking talk show moments.